There are many different ways of loving. And St. John, in the first letter that we heard tonight, speaks about love of God and love of our neighbor. And the kind of love he speaks about is not a sentimental kind of just a feeling of love. It's much deeper than that. The love he speaks of is the very love of God, and God himself is love. Jesus came and revealed himself to us, and he says in the gospel he came to release prisoners and proclaim liberty to them. The kind of release he's talking about is interior. It's an interior freedom. When we all know of examples where somebody's whole life changed because they realized that someone loved them. When two people fall in love, for example, their life changes because they know that they're held in great value. Somebody says, I love you for who you are. And that's what Christmas says to us. God's saying that he loves us for who we are. And so it changes us because we're loved by God. And it affects our whole life. We're not just tolerated, we're not just accepted, we're not just liked by God, we're loved by God. And how important it is for us to realize that wonderful reality that God loves me. And he loves us totally for who we are. Unconditionally, he loves us. And the gospel today, this is the only place recorded in the gospel where Jesus reads something. Nowhere else is it recorded that he read anything. And he reads from the Old Testament, from the prophet Isaiah. And it's interesting that he reads the passage which proclaimed a year of Jubilee. They periodically in the Old Testament would have these years of Jubilee proclaimed, and it was to allow people to be forgiven of their debts. And everybody who had any debts were forgiven. Wouldn't it be great if we had that kind of a Jubilee in the United States? But this year, Pope Francis, and it's where the church gets the Jubilee years periodically, came from the Old Testament. And Pope Francis has declared this year to be a Jubilee year of mercy, understanding that God's mercy comes to all of us, and we're called to extend that mercy to others. And it's a very important year. It's not at all material, but it's deeply spiritual, this year of mercy, this Jubilee year. And so today we see that John has pointed out to us that if we say we love our brother, if we hate our brother and say we love God, we're a liar, because you can't love God and hate your brother or sister. And then he goes on to say that how can you love God whom you've never seen if you don't love your neighbor whom you do see? Every person that we see, we should have Christian love for. And goes on to tell us that if we believe in Jesus Christ, then we know that he comes from the Father, that we are the children of God, and so we love God's children. It would be a rare parent who wouldn't expect that everybody would treat their children with respect and love and kindness. And what about God our Father? He expects us to treat his children, all of them, with love and respect. So there's an awful lot in all these two readings tonight that gives us something to ponder. But I think the most important thing is that God gives us that realization that he loves us individually, and what a profound effect that should have in our day-to-day lives and in our own personal lives. Let us stand and offer our prayers and petitions.